This week in gaming, some surprising shakeups are stirring the industry, from Nintendo stepping back one of their most popular programs, to a political mess hurting the preservation of video games, major hacks, and a major strike coming to an end, and many more. Today is Friday, July 11, 2025, and this is PlayByte, the show where I bring you the best gaming news of the week in a tiny bite-sized form. I got some pretty big topics to talk about with you today on the show, so without further ado, let's get into it. Now, this is more of an update from one of last week's stories regarding the big mass layoffs at Xbox and projects getting closed. John Romero came out and talked about it, and he was not explicitly saying that he was working with Xbox. He said you could fill in the gap, so he basically said he's working with Xbox. But he said he had met with the Xbox game studios just hours before these mass layoffs happened, and they said great projects, great progress, everything's going great, keep doing your thing. He thought everything was great, and then lo and behold, just a couple hours later, not only does Microsoft have mass layoffs at the Xbox studios, but they cancel a bunch of projects and they pull funding, and unfortunately his was one of them, and unfortunately that led to mass layoffs at his studio, and the studio effectively closing down. He provided an update stating that they are looking for new publishers to be able to have the game come to light. So at the end of the day, with John Romero's studio, it looks like there was some positives in the end, even though it definitely sucks that he lost his Xbox funding. The next story is kind of unexpected, but it is Nintendo, so you do expect something like this to happen every couple weeks, honestly, at this point, and it feels like every week Nintendo does something more dumb that we're talking about. This time around, they're going to be ending Nintendo Switch Vouchers, which was a program where you could do it on the online service and it's like $100 and then you get 2 free games. You will no longer be able to buy these vouchers after January 30th, 2026. For the foreseeable future thereafter, if you already have some, they are going to work, but the program is still going to get sunset. So these vouchers, they do not work on the Nintendo Switch 2, just the Nintendo Switch 1. So if you want to stack up and, use them while you can, now is definitely the time. You got less than 6 months really to get it done. Finally, there's some good news at Xbox. This past week it leaked out that there are multiple Fallout projects in production, potential Fallout 3 remake, Fallout 5 even, and then the big one, a sequel to Fallout New Vegas. But according to the leak, don't expect these anytime soon because they are in the early stages of development. This past week we also finally got a look at the new skate game that's coming out by EA. Now we saw some beta testing before, but this is our first time seeing the new finalized art style for the game, and as you can see here, a lot of people are polarized by it. They say it looks silly, it looks goofy, but here's the thing. This is a free-to-play online game. It's a live service. They're not going to have photorealism like Skate 3, 2, and 1 did, although looking back today, those games are kind of cartoony, but at the time, they were as realistic as it gets. But with it seeming like every Skate fan is down on this game, because not only is it kind of going to look goofy compared to the other Skate games, and its competition, Tony Hawk Pro Skater, which today just had a brand new release, it definitely looks like this is not going to be that good of a game when it comes out. I'm sure it's going to do some numbers, but I mean, who knows if we're ever going to get another proper Skate game. Coming on to another update, I did not expect to talk about The Last of Us for a third week in a row, but here we are, The Last of Us Part 2, 5 years later, got another update, and this time around it's going to be able to play the game in chronological order. So if you didn't know or you never played Last of Us Part 2, that game kind of is all over the place. You start the game kind of like in the midpoint, let's just say out of a scale 1 to 10, you start at 0.3, and then immediately thereafter you go to like 0.5, and then you go to 0.1, and then you go to 0.9, then you go to 0.6. It's all over the place. But now they fixed one of the biggest complaints people had, and now you can play the game in chronological order. And from what I played of it so far, it definitely flows a lot better and makes that legendary story look even better than it already did. And as an added bonus, it even adds Uncharted skins for the main characters, such as Joel and Tommy. Joel takes on Nathan Drake, and Tommy takes on Sam's outfit, so it looks really, really cool in my opinion. So this is definitely a great update for The Last of Us. Now with the more quick hit news pieces out of the way, let's get into the bigger stories of the week, including one study and one really interesting thing that happened. And now, I promise this is not going to become a political channel by any means, but this happens to do with the United States government, the United Kingdom government, video game players, billionaires, the oligarch, and everything in between. But it was relevant to the show and the fact that I talk a lot about video game collecting, I thought it was worth talking about here as one of the big stories for the week. If you follow American politics, you are well aware that the United States government is currently trying to basically dismantle itself and make it as inefficient as possible. I mean, just this past week we had massive floods in New Mexico and Texas that would have been completely prevented if the meteorologists had funding. So it's just a mess all the way around. And now, unfortunately, it's hitting the video game industry as well, which is a very small fry in the grand scheme of things, but it's still affecting the industry as it is. In 2024, the University of North Carolina was granted $150,000 to research the preservation of video games. Well, that funding just got lost, and now there's going to be no federally recognized way to preserve digital games, access, and everything in between, which really, really sucks because a lot of games we are now losing. I mean, Anthem is slated to sunset here soon, and the history of that game will technically be lost. Even though you can always find it on YouTube, it'll never be played again. This also comes as the United Kingdom's Stop Killing Games campaign gains traction, and then the video game studios start talking out about that. And obviously I do think that the video game studios had something to do with the fact that the University of North Carolina lost their funding, and that's due to the fact that Donald Trump's late brother, Robert Trump, sat on the board at ZeniMax, which was Bethesda's parent company before Microsoft bought them. So the Trump family is very, very, very involved with the video game industry, and President Trump is no stranger to cutting deals and making things better for billionaires. I mean, we just passed that great big beautiful bill act which raises taxes on the lower classes and cuts them for the billionaires. So there's no surprise there. I would not be surprised if one of these mega giant billionaire companies such as Rockstar or EA or Activision or something came up to him and kind of just pushed him in the way of cutting funding to this specific program. But that's just speculation, obviously. There's no facts or data leading to that. But now all that together, the timing is very, very shady, especially when you look at the fact that the video game studios are currently pushing back against the Stop Killing Video Games Act. And on top of that, major video game studios over the past couple of days just paid off a bunch of federal, well, quote unquote, allegedly, we don't know this for sure, but, you know, wink wink. They've allegedly paid off a bunch of judges to cancel and shut down the click to cancel initiative that was supposed to go into effect next week, which would make it very easy for you to unsubscribe from live services, whether that be stuff like the gym. Planet Fitness is very known for being a very vilified way. You have to actually go physically in with a letter to cancel your membership at some studios or at some places for Planet Fitness, and other places makes it very difficult for you to cancel your subscriptions, just as Humble Bundle. And the Xbox Game Pass is very difficult to cancel as well. So I mean, all this coming together over the past week between the Stop Killing Video Games Act, the government ending all federal funding to preserve video games, and then of course the Click to Cancel Act getting shut down, it really kind of shows a weird point in the history of the world, because this is definitely not, you know, just a United States problem. This was going to be a problem whether Trump won or Kamala won, so it really kind of doesn't matter. And at the end of the day, there are two sides of the same sword. But the fact that this is happening to us with two different things in the US, it's happening in the United Kingdom, it's happening in Asia, it's happening in Russia, I mean, it's even happening in Africa and South America. It's definitely kind of frustrating to see that all these video game studios are coming together, and instead of doing something good for the people, like making video games accessible offline when their live service time comes to an end, most notably The Crew, which ended support last year, you can no longer play that, but it was a $60 game, there was even higher editions you could pre-order at the time. It's definitely very scummy, and it's not a good sign in the direction that the video game industry is going. As you know, digital is overtaking physical games, and I'm very obviously a giant advocate of physical video games, but with the onset of digital games, that eventually is going to bring cloud gaming into fruition, and then cloud gaming is going to overtake digital game, because the people who play their games digitally, they don't necessarily care about being able to play a game in its best format, which is why they're going with that version instead of the physical disc version of the game. So they're going to jump onto cloud as it is, and it definitely sucks. I mean, I'm not going to say cloud's going to take off anytime soon, but when you're looking at the end of the future, I would not be surprised if in the year 2050, if all the video games we play are cloud-based at that point. And this is all just going to be one major turning point in history for gaming if something good doesn't happen. This previously happened back in the 1990s as well, and then the people won, the game studios lost, the politicians lost. So I'm not going to sit here and say that we might not be able to fight back and win against this, but the way it's looking now, it's definitely rough. But again, this isn't a political channel, so I didn't want to dive too much into that, but it is definitely a mess, and it's not exactly something that I'm too thrilled about. And our next two stories is actually about billionaires as well. It was a mess for Call of Duty this past week, especially with Call of Duty World War II, which I personally enjoyed. But Call of Duty World War II hit PC Game Pass, and it was pulled within days of launch after reports that hackers exploited a serious remote execution flaw. Players say their PCs froze mid-match, notepad windows opened up, wallpapers changed. Basically, people got their computers hacked, and some even had malware installed. Activision said it's investigating the issue before restoring the game, but if you're on PC, steer clear of World War II on Game Pass. I mean, you can't even get it right now as it is, but we'll just wait until it's officially safe again. And even then, once it's back out, I would give it a week or two before downloading it and playing it again. But man, if only Xbox had some engineers that could have stopped this before it went live. Man, oh man, if only they hadn't laid off half of the team at Raven, who is the software support team for Call of Duty. Maybe this could have been caught before it went out. Who knows? Who knows? And then to end this week's PlayByte on a good note, the SAG-AFTRA and video game strike finally came to a conclusion. After nearly a year of being on strikes, the SAG-AFTRA Voice Actors Guild have officially ended their protest following the ratification of the 2025 Interactive Media Agreement. The deal, approved by 95% of union members, includes a 15.17% immediate pay increase, an annual 3% raise through 2027, and enhanced health and retirement benefits. Crucially, it establishes strong protections against AI misuse, requiring informed consent for AI-generated content, and allowing performers to suspend consent during future strikes. Major publishers like Activision, EA, and Warner Games have committed to the ongoing collaboration with the union. Now, I don't think it's a stranger to anybody that AI is here to stay, and it definitely helps with video production. I mean, if you're watching this video, you probably noticed I've had hints of AI here and there. Most notably with the audio editing, AI makes it so easy to remove the noise of the video. Like, this video has all my air conditioners on at once, and you're not going to be able to hear any of that. And if you can, it's going to be very little, and that's because of AI. So of course AI has its place in the audio recording industry for voice actors, but to know the fact that now it's going to be basically confirmed that voice actors are not going to have their voices stolen for future video games, it's really a nice feeling. But with that being said, this has been PlayByte for Friday, July 11, 2025. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit a like. If it's your first time here, hit that subscribe button. If you have anything to say about any of these stories, or if I missed anything major in your opinion, comment and let me know down below. And with that being said, try not to die, and I'll see you in the next video.